Hi guys, most of you know who I am. For the people that don't know who I am, I'm John Dell Peterson. I'm an owner of the Child Care Center. We are licensed for 70 kids. I've been working in child care for over 25 years. I have 6 kids of my own, and I've been married to my lovely husband for 25 years. I woke up this morning and seen it looked very cold. We are in Montana, and there was a little bit of snow on the top of the mountains. So my thought was today we're going to do training on outside policies and state regulations. So when we're outside, staff are required to be attentive at all times. They are to be required to be up, walking around, checking in on their kids, interacting with their kids. When we are interacting, we are crouched down and we are face to face with the kids. There is no yelling across the yard. If there is a really dire situation, please yell stop. Do not yell no, and hustle to that situation immediately. When you are outside, you are required to have a box of tissues, water bottles at all times, Band-Aids, and incident and accident reports. So you should have a Tupperware full of water bottles, and it will be at one location. They are not to be walked around and wandered with. Band-Aids should be in your clipboard. You have a clipboard that you can open up, and it should have all your incident and accident reports in there, and also Band-Aids if need. We cannot have staff coming and going from inside and outside. When all the kids come outside, they have already been fresh diapers, and they all have been pottied. So we are not wandering in and inside and outside. Diaper changing time during recesses is a mandatory. We are not just checking randomly. We are taking children inside and we are changing them. Most of the time, one staff will stay outside as another staff will bring children in groups and change their diapers. We are to encourage potty time on the toilet. It is a requirement that all children get clean pull-ups or diapers. PM diaper time, it goes for the same. And then you are also required to check the kids every 15 minutes to see if they pooped outside or if they have a wet diaper. I want all parents to pick up their kids with clean, crispy diapers. Out of all things in the center, this is my biggest pet peeve. I do not want a call from a parent that they picked up their kid and their kid was poopy or soaking wet. So PM staff, recess time, most crucial for you to check kids constantly to see if they pooped or have a wet diaper. If a child has a wet diaper, you are to change it immediately, because my requirements is that they go home with fresh, clean diapers. Perspective. You worked a very long day and you came to pick up your kid, and you have to go home and do dinner, do laundry, etc. Would you like to pick up your kid in a nice fresh diaper, knowing that you could put them in the car seat, hurry, run to the grocery store, and then go home and make dinner? How would it make you feel if you picked up your kid, they were poopy, and then you had to go change them, or you had to awkwardly go ask an employee to change your kid's diaper? It's not a very good feeling at all. So PM staff is required to every 10 to 15 minutes to check kids' diapers constantly. Policy on cell phones. Cell phones are not to be used at all during your work hours. You are allowed to have your cell phone during nap or your breaks. While you are supervising children, it is my time, it is the children's time, it is the parents' time. You are paid to supervise and create a safe and nurturing environment. Being on your phone takes away from that. It is state rule and my policy that cell phones are not to be used during business hours. The only time I should ever see a cell phone out and you looking at it is when you're communicating with parents on Brightwell or myself. If I see you on the cameras on your phone, I will send you a text and ask why you're on your phone. I'll tell you to put your phone away right away. Where you pull up to pick up your kid and the employee that, do you think being on your cell phone is more important to the kid next to you? Would you like to drop your child off at a center is nose deep into their cell phone? For yard cleanliness and safety, it is every employee's job, not just one, to rake the wood chips back into their original location. It is also every employee's to make sure that sand stays in the sandbox. If a kid is carrying a bucket and dumping it into one location and then filling it up and dumping another, then it creates issues with our grass. It keeps it, then another kid starts digging in the area where there is sand, and then we have holes all over our yard. It can create a tripping hazard, and it does not look professional at all. All broken toys need to be discarded. If it is a big broken toy or a broken bike, those are more expensive items. You are to contact me, send me a picture, and ask, throw this away, or is this something that you would like to fix? All staff are required to keep their yard tidy, nice, and neat. So when one classroom leaves to go to lunch, it is their responsibility to pick up half of the yard. It is great to encourage the kids to pick up the yard, but if your kids don't pick up, then it is your responsibility as teachers to get half of the yard picked up and put the toys where they belong. The last classroom, which in our facility is a preschool, the last class to go in for lunch it is their job to make sure the yard is nice and neat and tidy. These are not just my rules, they are the state rules. And this is something to think about. We have a new family that is coming for a tour. They pull up and it looks like mayhem. Toys everywhere, broken toys. It does not look professional at all. So when you first exit out into the yard, sweep and comb the whole yard to make sure that someone did not throw food in the yard, right? A neighbor or someone thought this is a really cool toy, right? And they put it in your yard, but it was not age appropriate. It was put in the 1-year-old yard and it had something that they can maybe tip over and hurt themselves. Or someone put a trike in the yard and it has dog poop on the tires. So we need to comb and sweep the yard when we first go out to make sure the yard is clear of all debris and everything is safe for the kids. So ensure that the yard is safe before and after play. Kids digging just random holes in the yard, that is to be stopped. Remember that it's every staff's responsibility that the wood chips are raked into the required area and that sand stays in the sandbox. You are responsible for everybody in your classroom. I do not want reports that I had to take care of so-and-so's class today because they were on their phone. I had to do this because they just sat down. It is your job to be standing up and meeting all of your kids' needs. Not to be sitting down. It is okay to sit down and have a break here and there, but it is your job to be up and making sure everyone is safe and all needs are met. No huddling. It's your job to make sure the area is safe and kids' needs are met first. I do not want to pull up to the center and there's a whole huddle of all employees with their backs to the kids. I'm going to talk about weather appropriate clothes. Like I said, June 1st to September 1st, it is okay for kids to not have coats, sweaters, or sweatshirts on, and they are not required to wear their shoes. If a parent requires shoes for their kids, then their kid is required to wear shoes. If a child is allergic to bees, my policy is that the child is required to wear their shoes due to if they step on a bee, we're dealing with a life-threatening situation. Also, if there's any beehives in the yard, it is your job to report to me and to the directors of the facility that there is a beehive and where it's located, so I can remove the beehive immediately. Winter, from September to June 1st, it is required that all kids wear appropriate clothing. If you are wearing a sweatshirt out in the yard, it's required that the kids wear a sweatshirt as well. And if it is sweatshirt weather, then the sweatshirt needs to be zipped up. Coats and sweatshirts need to be zipped up at all times. If a child continuously unzips their coat, then it is your job to get on the child's level and explain to why we have our coat zipped up. If you have your coat unzipped because you are hot, then that isn't okay, then that is okay. If you are wearing a coat outside in the yard, then it is required, kids are required to wear coats outside. Shoes are required from September 1st all the way until June 1st through our whole school year. It is required. There's no exceptions. If a child takes their shoes off over and over, then it's your job to put their shoes back on. If the kid has wet socks on, then it is your job to make sure those socks are removed. A child is to never lay down to nap with wet socks or wet clothes or a wet shirt at any time. A question: would you climb into your bed at night or for a nap with shoes on? Another question: would you go to bed with wet clothes on, wet pants, wet sleeves, wet collar? Would you go to bed with wet clothes on? If you would not do that to yourself or your children, it is not okay to do it at the center. Hats: if it is cold outside and a kid takes off their hat, it is your job to put it on over and over and over. I don't want to hear they won't keep it on. It is your job to explain to the kid why. If it is a child that really struggles with keeping their jacket on and it is freezing, if the child has special needs, then there's things that we can do to help that situation. So if a child is struggling with keeping their coat on, it is your job to go to the directors or come to me about the situation. Shoes are to be tied by employees. Make sure kids' shoes are on and secure. It is also your job to make sure the coats are zipped or buttoned. You can encourage them to do it, but if they don't do it, it is your job to do it. Gloves and hats, same thing. They take them off. It is your job to put them back on. At the end of recess, it is your job to sweep your whole playground, make sure your kids have all their equipment and bring them in. By every exit door, there is a weather chart. Tell you how long your kids can go out if there's smoke, how long your kids can go out in cold weather, how long your kids can go out with the heat. It's your job to go through and calculate. Our recesses are required. This is our center schedule. You are to abide by my policies. Coming in from outside during lunch will have dirt and debris, which means it could be someone had dog poop on the bottom of their shoe and a kid fell, and there could be dog poop, bacteria, debris. All kids are to have their faces washed and their hands washed before each meal. The most important thing is counting kids. When all kids are ready to go outside, they've all been pottied, they all have a fresh diaper. They are all lined up. The lead teacher is at the beginning of the line. The assistant teacher is at the end of the line. If there's a third teacher, they're in between. You are to sweep the whole classroom. You are to sweep your classroom's bathroom to make sure all kids are accounted for. When you are in your line, the teacher needs to have her back to the door facing the assistant teacher. You need to pull up your bright wheel and you need to go to attendance. You look at your attendance. Your first question is, did any kid go home sick? Double check. Is any kid not checked in? Is there any kid that left early that maybe is still checked in and they went camping? You need to check all those things. You need to communicate how many kids you have, and you all need to count, not just one teacher. Every teacher that's in that classroom needs to count. Then you all can go outside. Once you're outside, you need to all immediately count again. You need to make sure that every kid's accounted for and that you're all coming up with the same exact number. Could you imagine being a kid that was left behind? How scary that would be? Losing a kid will be an automatic write-up in our facility. Depending on the situation, can be on the grounds for termination. If you have any questions about outside policies, please let me know. All employees are required training to ask me a question down below in the comments, and they are also required to make a comment underneath someone else's question. No children's names or pictures are allowed down below in the commenting section. Hopefully with this training, we can be a stronger team across the board. These trainings are required by every class, even though you might not take your infants outside all the time because it's 12 degrees out. This is your job to also learn this information just in case you're a substitute in the preschool classroom. You know what is required of you. And also, if a state licensor comes in and they ask you questions, you will know what they're talking about, and also you will be able to answer their questions as well. Have a good day, guys.